All right, question number 4. Uh, so this is asking us to write a function to count how many odd numbers are in a list. Now, obviously, it would be nice if we could just call, a list count odd numbers or something like that. It's not going to be that easy. So let's start by giving us a function definition. So count odd. Make sure when you're doing functions that take list as parameters, that even though it might be tempting, the same way that we've used string before or have used I before to mean integer, make sure that you don't use list as your parameter for your function, because list is a Python default function, right? It's what we use to cast items into a list. So you cannot use a list, which is why we often use my list or a list, or in this case, since I know it's going to be a list of numbers, I'll just use nums, right? So def count odd nums iterates through list nums and returns count of odd numbers. There we go. Okay, so we're going to want to iterate through this list. Like my docstring says, we're going to want to iterate through this list and count up how many odd numbers. So if your initial thought for that is to use an accumulator pattern, then you are absolutely on track, right? We do need to use an accumulator pattern. So I'm gonna set a return variable here. That's not very good. I do this a lot, where I set a return variable equal to RTN, but that's not very explicit code, right? We know that, I look at this, I know, okay, RTN is what I'm going to intend to return at the end of this function, but it's not really like explicit, right? It doesn't tell me what RTN actually is, aside from the thing I want to return. So let me do odd count. So odd count equals 0. And then for I in nums, so start a for loop. For I in nums, if I is odd, which we know that we can check by checking if it's divisible by evenly divisible by 2. So if modulo 2 does not equal 0, then we know that it has returned, it has a remainder, essentially, so it's going to be an odd number. So if I modulo 2 does not equal 0, then odd count plus equals 1. So increase odd count by 1. And then at the end of our for loop, so after our for loop is finished, after we've worked our way through the entire list, we just simply return odd count. Okay? And then I know that works, so let's make a main function real quick to actually make use of that. So make some room for myself after my main declaration. I'm going to include my magic statement here. If double under name equals the string, or if double under name equals the string double under main, run main. If this hasn't become second nature to you guys yet, try to get into the habit of typing this out, because we're going to use this in our actual Python functions that we write for the big assignments. And if you're writing Python functions in the future, or Python programs in the future, generally speaking, most of your programs will have this. They will have a main function that runs if you run just that program file. So it's something it looks like complicated garbage, right? Just gibberish, but it is very simple to remember. If double under name equals the string double under main, right? If double under name equals the string double under main, just get that in your head, drill it in there, and hopefully that'll become second nature to you at some point. All right, so my list equals And then a list of numbers, let's do 1, 42, 89, 34, 21, and 2. So how many odds do I have here? It looks like I have 3 odds in this list. So if I pass this list into my count odd function, so if I run count odd my list, I should expect that it returns a value of 1, 2, 3. So let's see if it works. And it does in fact return 3. So there we go. Nice and easy. Let's see what the official answer is. So I'll save this and check out the official answer. Import random. Oh, I see. So this looks the same to me. That their function definition looks pretty much exactly the same. They used E as their variable for their for loop, which they probably are meaning E for element, because we call individual pieces of data in the list, we call them elements. So it's possible that they're using E to mean element here. I just went with I because I know that what's inside of nums is going to be an integer. Just explicitly, I know that. So our variable names are different, but functionally it does the same thing. And then down here they created a random list for their function to test with, which obviously we did not do, but we could have done if we wanted to. But either way, there we go. Looks fine.